Good afternoon, and welcome to the 2024 budget hearings for Franklin County, Ohio. The next agency we will hear from today is the Office of Justice Policy and Programs.
At the Office of Justice Policy and Programs, we wear many hats, even hard hats. We would like to welcome you to the Franklin County Rapid Resource Center. This new innovation and initiative would not be possible without the support of our Franklin County Board of Commissioners, County Administration, and our Sheriff's Office. We would like to thank you for your partnership in helping us serve every resident every day and meeting them exactly where they are to help them get to their next best step. We would also like to thank our community partners for your support, as they will have access to this amazing space to serve everybody the way that they deserve to be served. Thank you so much for all that you do for us, and we're excited to kick off 2024 in our brand new Rapid Resource Center. Hello and welcome to our Safer Stations location on the west side of Columbus. This is one more hat the Office of Justice Policy and Program wears to do the work that we do every day. That's not the hard work, but the heart work. Here I have before us our Help Box, which we lovingly refer to as also a harm reduction vending machine. This creates accessibility and resources that eliminate barriers for our most vulnerable residents to get exactly what they need to stay healthy, to stay safe, and to stay alive. I want to show you really quickly just how this innovation works. And as the vending machine verifies my code, now I get to choose the product to ensure my safety. And just like that, I have a product that will ensure that I have the ability to go forward and ensure the safety of someone else or myself, because this is truly a safe station for everyone. Thank you, and good afternoon, Commissioners, County Administration, and Team Franklin County. My name is Rochelle Pride, and I serve as Director for the Office of Justice Policy and Programs and CASA of Franklin County. Today, I am pleased to have with me Melissa Pearson, our Chief Operating Officer, Kevin Greenwood, our Deputy Director of Survivor Services and CASA, and Caitlin Looney, Deputy Director of Justice Services. On behalf of our office, it is my honor and privilege to present our fiscal 2024 budget request, an overview of this year's highlights with challenges and future objectives. While 2023 is propelling our thrust to adjust to a post-COVID world, the full impact of this new normal is still unknown. In 2019, our Board of Commissioners released our Rise Together Blueprint and Innovation Center to address poverty in our community. The blueprint lists several large goals and small steps to achieve these goals, aimed at addressing poverty, including but not limited to employment, housing, health, and youth, to which the Office of Justice Policy and Programs and CASA has continued to advance through various efforts and initiatives grounded in our mission and values. Right now, our community is in a state of crisis in the areas outlined in our blueprint plan. Now more than ever, it is critical that we roll up our sleeves to make change effectively and systematically in these areas. Before we share our various efforts more in depth, I'm going to turn it over to Melissa Pearson to highlight the budget that currently supports our work. Melissa?
Thank you, Director Pride. Good afternoon, Commissioners and County Administration. The Office of Justice Policy and Programs and CASA of Franklin County's funding strategies and portfolio are geared to better align with the longer-term policy goals of the newly established One Door Project and Franklin County Health and Human Services ecosystem. OJPP strategically planned budgetary and personnel expansion to support these practices and initiatives. Our proposed 2024 budget is approximately $11.4 million, which reflects a 5-year growth rate of 124% and a 37% increase from the 2023 budget. This growth reflects additional federal grant funding received to support reentry, overdose prevention, transitional housing, and inclusion of county subsidy funding to sustain several key successful programs like male and female pathways, the the Rapid Resource Center and its expansion to the new jail, and respite housing for homeless individuals released during third shift from our jail. For calendar year 2023 and 2024, our office will manage 22 separate, distinct, discretionary, and formula grants, which result in approximately 90 subrecipient awards to community-based organizations and government entities. OJPP managed to increase revenue from local, state, and federal grants by 83% between 2020 and 2024 to support the Board of Commissioner priority initiatives. Increased grant revenue prioritizes emerging trends with the goal of solidifying proof of concept. We are grateful to the Board of Commissioners and County Administration for understanding the value of these programs originally seeded with grant funding and the importance of sustaining continuity of services through expansion of approved operational funds in 2023 and in 2024. Currently, grants account for approximately 60% of JPP's revenue, which supports internal and external programs, job classifications, fringes, and other agency operations. In 2023, with support from our Board of Commissioners and County Administration, OJPP received a subsidy of approximately $2 million to support key initiatives, programming sustainability, and capacity building. We anticipate a slight increase to $2.4 million for calendar year 2024. Commissioners, it can't be argued, employees are the true assets of an organization and the lifeblood of the Office of Justice Policy and Programs and CASA of Franklin County. OJPP's outreach and engagement has increased exponentially over the last 5 years, and we are fortunate to receive additional funding to support onboarding of additional staff needed to meet the expanded vision and mission of our agency. The 2023 budget reflected the addition of 7 full-time equivalents to support expansion from 1 to 2 rapid resource centers operating 24/7 and additional fiscal functions resulting from our growth. The 2024 budget reflects an additional 6 FTEs to support CASA and Safer Stations operations and expand our leadership team to include a Deputy Director of Justice Services. In addition to our full-time staff, OJPP now has 22 part-time contract staff on the team. These key members of our team are just as critical to the mission of serving every resident every day, one person at a time. With many agencies across the country dealing with challenging post-pandemic employment trends, OJPP and CASA of Franklin County takes pride in its retention rate of 86%. We firmly believe our staff are our most valuable assets, and that attracting, retaining, and developing staff not only makes sense from a business perspective, but results in a mission-driven culture of purpose, support, and connection. Our clients cannot thrive if our staff don't thrive as well.
Thank you, Melissa. And now we will take a look at our strategic initiatives guiding our work from 2023 to present. Our NACO award-winning initiative, Youth of Incarcerated Parents, is built on the reality that when you incarcerate a parent, you incarcerate a family. According to the American Civil Liberties Union, Black men are 6 times more likely than their white counterpart to be incarcerated. Black women are 2 times as likely to be incarcerated compared against the same demographic. The United States spends approximately $80 billion annually to continue the business of mass incarceration, and we make up 25% of the world's incarceration rate, and Ohio is reflected in the top 5. Several outcomes have been linked to children impacted by parental incarceration, such as low educational attainment, externalizing behaviors, mental and emotional health diagnosis, just to name a few. In 2022, OJPP launched the Youth of Incarcerated Parents in collaboration with our JFS Family Stabilization Unit, Nationwide Children's Hospital, Franklin County Common Pleas Court, and several community stakeholders to bridge the gap between parental incarceration and the families left behind by coordinating service linkage at sentencing, jail and prison in-reach, and pre and post-release support to parental residents. This pilot began with 1 dynamic FSU specialist, 1 courtroom, thank you to Judge Jiza Page for her support, and once every 2 weeks, and the outcomes seen before you were still achieved. Our goal in 2024 is clear. We seek to expand the Youth of Incarcerated Parents unit to meet the demand of service delivery and the need requested by our Common Pleas Court at sentencing. We have continued to partner with our Franklin County Office on Aging to support grandparental caregivers, and recently met with the Marshall Project out of Cleveland, Ohio, who desires to support a parenthood curriculum for incarcerated parents and their families. As quoted before you, there can be no keener revelation of a society's soul than that to which it treats its children. Therefore, our commitment to the multi-generational success of youth now and in the future will never waver. Next, we would like to talk with you about the support additionally to our children. As CASA continues their work in advocacy for abused and neglected children, there is a sizable body of research investigating the link between child maltreatment and adverse educational outcomes. Children who have experienced abuse or neglect are at increased risk of lower levels of cognitive functioning, language development, and overall achievement. These studies continue to highlight the unmatched impact and necessity of our CASA program, including the recent evaluation completed in August of this year, conducted by the Ohio Colleges of Medicine Government Resource Center at OSU, and supported by Ohio CASA and a host of state and local partners. Last year, a self-assessment of programs conducted by National CASA, GAL Association, revealed that CASA of Franklin County met 221 out of 226 measured elements of practice. This equates to a 97% compliance of all measures. In the past 10 months, 252 active CASA volunteers have served 724 children, representing 351 families served. This is a 12% increase in children served and an increase of 8% in families served compared to 2022. This year, CASA provided 29 continuing education courses for existing volunteers for a total of 68 hours of specialized training. So far this year, CASA volunteers have donated over 11,000 hours of service to abused and neglected children in our community. While we are on the topic of training and education of our amazing team, we are happy to share the exciting news of our partnership with Franklin University, our Board of Commissioners Human Resources Department, and our nonprofit family, Friends of CASA, as we prepare to launch a new online learning engagement system in 2024, which will support pre-service training and continuing education for CASA volunteers and staff. Now we will talk about the support and resources provided through our Rapid Resource Center. Launched in 2021 at Jackson Pike, the RRC was developed to provide immediate, equitable access by individuals just released from custody to supportive services, harm reduction education, including distribution of Narcan kits and behavioral health treatment linkage. The RRC is managed by a phenomenal licensed clinician and team with previous justice involvement and relies heavily on equally necessary peer supports, reentry specialists, and community health workers to engage with residents. This multi-agency collaborative effort has included support from Primary One Health, Columbus Public Health, and Franklin County Public Health. To date, more than 8,000 individuals released from incarceration and their family members have received services from our Rapid Resource Center. In October 2022, the RRC moved to 24/6 operation with the goal of creating wraparound support, respite for unhoused residents, and transportation for public transit hours when public transit hours have ceased. Last year, you so graciously approved another Rapid Resource Center location, which will operate out of the new James A. Carrs Correctional Facility. The new RRC will provide greater accessibility to services, increased capacity, and heightened collaboration. Construction is now complete on this new site of opportunity, which we will open to the public with a ceremonial open door ceremony in the spring of 2024. Next, I will pass it back to Melissa Pearson to discuss our pre-release medicated assistant treatment program success. But before doing so, I want to let you see the unveiling of what was a vision that is now turned to reality. What you see before you are the real-time renderings of our existing Rapid Resource Center that is now complete at our James A. Carrs Correctional Facility. Melissa?
Thanks, Director. 2019, the Franklin County Office of Justice Policy and Programs embedded a medication-assisted treatment coordinator in the Franklin County Correctional Center to Jackson Pike. And in 2021, this team was expanded to include a dedicated discharge planner. The team, in collaboration with the Sheriff's Office and the jail medical services provider, assists with the coordination of medication-assisted treatment services for residents pre-release and post-release. During 2023, we were able to expand further to include 2 dedicated peer support specialists and offer contingency management, an evidence-based practice which reinforces treatment compliance and peer support communications post-release. From October 2022 through September 30, 2023, the team was able to meet with 44% of all individuals triggering the clinical opioid withdrawal scale at booking to discuss their MAT options and begin the process of initiating services pre-release. In addition to offering MAT services, the Office of Justice Policy and Programs team provides harm reduction education in the jail and coordinates distribution of Narcan kits to individuals at release from the jail and screened as at risk for an opioid use disorder. In 2023, 1,154 kits were distributed and 126 individuals received medication-assisted treatment pre-release. Another highlight of 2023 included the offering of a second form of medication-assisted treatment induction to include the long-acting injectable Sublocade.
Thank you, Melissa. And as we continue to highlight our jail-based programs and services, in 2015, OJPP, in collaboration with Alvis Incorporation, launched our Pathways Achieving Recovery by Choice program for justice-involved residents identified at admission into our jail as exhibiting high risk for substance use and overdose, determined by a clinical assessment and referred into services our medicated assisted treatment coordinator would provide and streamline. The goals of the program are to expand access to pre-release MAT services, improve the continuity of behavioral health treatment immediately following release, decrease opioid misuse, and strengthening pre- and post-release support services to mitigate challenges and barriers for reentry and recovery. Although specific outcomes are thriving and dollars are being saved, we are cognizant that a revamp of this program is needed. The profile of our correctional centers has changed drastically since the program's inception. With that in mind, we are forging new partnerships, best practices, and outcomes in 2024. Launched in September 2022 as a community-based effort to support residents as they transition from the correctional centers that we just described and the processes that we have implemented as a team, we launched the Safer Station location, a first responder deflection and diversion program model offering brief medical screening and direct linkage to substance use treatment for individuals actively using drugs and/or at risk for overdose in Franklin County. Our Safer multidisciplinary team works to redirect individuals using drugs away from jails or emergency departments and toward community-based treatment, using a non-judgmental, relational, human-centric approach rooted in addiction science. Safer stations are the gateway to treatment services when an individual reaches the action stage of change. To date, Safer has served over 1,000 residents through walk-in and partner agency referrals. As you saw at the beginning of our time together, our new harm reduction vending machine creates accessibility to items located at our Safer station that support prevention that we often take for granted. This cutting-edge harm reduction tool is currently being implemented in our municipal court building, and so stay tuned as we launch that site as well. One of the major programs that we want to mention, last but not least, is our RRC Bridge program. In 2022, we launched this program with our community partner, TKCK, to provide temporary housing and briefcase management for residents indicating homeless at the time of booking into our jail or upon release. A 5-day respite period is provided to prevent life-threatening circumstances from becoming real. Priority is given to those released between 8 p.m. and 7 a.m. to ensure a safe place to rest during the night. The program includes 3 phases: transition and intake, warm handoff, and a final transfer of care. As you see before you, our social determinants of health are necessities for quality of life for all of us. This program helps support that strategic move in making sure that a resident indicating homelessness at whatever point during their incarceration has a safe place to go where these social determinants of health can be launched and fulfilled. We are very excited with this program and the outcomes and understanding the importance and the crisis that we have in our community around housing. And this Bridge program has supported us in making one more step towards secure housing and permanency for the residents that we serve. In May of 2023, our Board of Commissioners appointed and reappointed 20 individuals to our Reentry Advisory Board. As we set forth to reimagine many areas of our justice system, how we see, how we engage and support residents returning from carceral settings began to shift focus, planning, and necessary action. In June of this year, OJPP hosted and facilitated a retreat where Reentry Advisory Board members came together to begin the process of moving strategic planning into strategic doing. We would like to thank our Board of Commissioners and County Administration, and specifically Commissioner Boyce and DCA Bivens for attending this kickoff of the retreat and highlighting our poverty blueprint plan and the importance of this work as we raise the standard of reentry in Franklin County and truly rise together. The best entry into our system is no entry at all, i.e. prevention. However, once an individual enters incarceration, reentry preparation should begin and goals should be established to ensure that it does. This fall, OJPP and our Reentry Advisory Board members facilitated a big table talk to ensure community input in our strategic plan. Breakout sessions with prompts were used as conversation starters and prompted bold action steps for 2024 and beyond. Some of the prompts that were used during these sessions you see before you, and it generated a dialogue to help us navigate change and help us understand the needs based on those that are present. We had with us those with lived experiences. We had those who were system partners. We had those who have dealt with family members who have suffered through the process of incarceration to reentry and not having the things that they need to be successful in doing such. As we look at the challenges in front of us and the things that we want to move into, we understand that mass incarceration and other pervasive systematic barriers continue to prevent successful reintegration of justice-involved residents returning to Franklin County from local or state incarceration. As you view the challenges in front of you, understand that they are rooted in our need to strategically disrupt barriers, which include lack of affordable and accessible housing, substance abuse and mental health, unemployment, and underemployment. Failing to adequately address the reentry needs of residents will lead to jeopardized public safety outcomes, higher unemployment and poverty rates, increased addiction and overdoses, homelessness and mental health decompensation, as well as intergenerational cycles of criminal justice involvement, disproportionately affecting African-American communities. But we must also equip our servant leaders in the space with the right tools, funding, and capacity to remedy these systematic barriers. Our vision is a larger Office of Justice Reform and Reentry that can host OJPP and other system partners under one roof, which is why we are excited to be immersed in curating our Health and Human Services One Door site. As we talk about the growth of the systematic barriers that we all come to understand, as we as a team continue to grow in our efforts to address them, this support will be absolutely critical. The things that we tend to miss and not necessarily understand is the importance of how you see is how you serve. One of the things that we are going to focus on in 2024 is the objectives that are listed before you in launch of our Fisher Road Rapid Resource Center and expanding the role of in-reach services, the continued implementation and findings and recommendations of our Blueprint for Safety, which is to increase victim safety and engagement in justice processes, improve cross-agency information sharing, and meaningful interagency collaboration to close system gaps and problem solving in the active cases. We're moving to launch our Franklin County Tap-In Center, which will serve as a community-based site for warrant recalls, license reinstatement, and to begin the expungement process for residents who have been justice involved and still impacted by our systems. Renewing the emphasis of our CASA volunteer recruitment, and particularly those men of color and those who can support the idea that representation matters and ensuring that our children have voices and support from those that look like them. Revigoration of efforts of the Reentry Advisory Board and the Criminal Justice Planning Board have taken flight as we move to curate a smart blueprint to justice that will support the strategic plan for 2024 for our Criminal Justice Planning Board. The implementation of our multi-agency jail population review and continuing to create efforts that will support our Health and Human Services One Door experience to better serve our residents. On behalf of Team OJPP and CASA, we sincerely thank our Board of Commissioners and County Administration and our fellow BOC agencies and host of community partners for the support that they have lended us during our time of execution and service and stewardship to every resident every day. To Team OJPP, there is no me without you, and we truly appreciate who you are and all that you do. Thank you for your time today, and at this time, we will take any questions you may have.
County Administrator Kenneth Wilson. Now open it up for any questions from the Board of Commissioners that are on the line of our Office of Justice Policy and Programs. Okay, we'll keep the forum open. Questions come up. Director Pride, talk a little bit about the Tap-In Center and some of the goals and objectives around the Tap-In Center. I know I'm enthusiastically awaiting the kickoff of that initiative.
Yes, sir. So we are as well. The Tap-In Center came after a trip that Commissioner Crawley and I attended in St. Louis County, where we were able to listen in on the Tap-In Center that was created in their jurisdiction. The goal of this effort is truly diversion. It is to ensure that individuals who have old, outdated warrants, minor misdemeanor offenses, and the things that could really make the difference between whether they have a home to go to or not, if they are incarcerated behind these various implications of their prior justice system involvement. So the goal of this initiative is to ensure that there is an opportunity to resolve those court-related matters that then diverts them from incarceration, to make sure that the site, which we will use our library systems right now, are on board with us as we build this out, to be the site to host the wraparound support and services that we want to provide to residents who are on this trajectory of resolving these legal matters and being able to get their life back. The beauty of this model is that right now we currently support a program in our mayor's court in both Whitehall and Reynoldsburg that is this identical concept and practice. It has been successful since 2019 when we became partners with them along with our Job and Family Services Department. And we have been able to see a 98% recidivism rate, should I say a not recidivism rate. They have been able to keep 98% of individuals away from the court systems after their engagement. This same entity, this same model is what we will move to deploy the larger effort of our Tap-In Center. We are also scheduled after the first of the year to present at our Franklin County Chiefs Association, because what we understand is that there are many system players involved in this process. And we want to be strategic and intentional about engaging them on the front end to ensure that our residents are treated with dignity through this process. We do not want this to be a gotcha. We do not want this to be something that our residents see as a threat to their freedom. And so we are working very closely with our system partners to make sure that this is kicked off without any disruption to the resident other than to resolve the matters before them. So we are really excited about the inception.
It's definitely going to be a game changer for Franklin County. It meets the definition of smart justice by not unnecessarily incarcerating individuals or put individuals at risk of incarceration that don't pose any threat to our community, and that they can be gainfully employed or obtain workforce training. Commissioner Crawley, I see your hand up.
Administrator, I believe she's having audio issues, and she did say that you asked the questions she was going to ask.
Okay. The Rapid Resource Center. I know staff, we've talked a lot about the great challenge around staffing. How long do we anticipate it'll take us to be able to have all 3 shifts for the Rapid Resource Center, where we can embrace people with the social determinants of health remedies before they walk out the door?
Yes, sir. So since October of last year, we have been operating all 3 shifts, with the exception of Sundays. Given the data that we showed of the incoming to the Rapid Resource Center on Sundays, it is much lighter traffic. So we modified the hours for Sunday to support that and to be good stewards of taxpayer dollars. However, we have been operating Monday through Saturday, all 3 shifts since October of last year. The new Rapid Resource Center that is set to open in 2024, that will take, of course, time to build that stamina once we get the staff in place. And of course, the intake starts to flow more regularly with the residents transferring over to the new correctional facility.
Okay. Commissioner Kevin Boyce? I see your hand up.
Yeah, I didn't. I was just saying that I was here. I just joined. So
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner.
Mhm.
Deputy County Administrator Joy Bivens?
Yeah.
Oh,
Can you
yes.
hear me now?
yes, I
Okay.
hear you now.
Perfect. Thank you. So I want to go back into the Tap-In Center and the Jail Population Review Committee because I think it's essential. So we just didn't go. I want Director Pride to elaborate on the initiative that we are a part of and why it's so important to have, why that Tap-In Center is important, and the Jail Population Review Committee, and having staffing for them on a regular basis. So it wasn't just a trip to St. Louis. Like, we are a part of NACO for Justice Initiative or Network, which is specifically looking at racial equity in our justice systems and our jails, and really trying to get at the heart of Black men and men of color being overrepresented in our jail systems. And so I would like for her, it might be hard to hear, like I'm at the airport, but I would like for her to elaborate on what Franklin County is a part of, which is unique to other counties across the country.
Yes, ma'am. So the Safety and Justice Challenge with the Mark MacArthur Foundation is something that our agency has been a part of for many, many years. But recently, last year, we joined the Core Justice Network with the National Association of Counties to really highlight and continue to illuminate the disparities as it relates to disproportionate minority contact with our jails and prison systems. And again, the representation of Black men in those populations and in those different facilities. And so during this time there, we received a breadth of information. A lot of the things that we've been able to not only hone in on to then bring back to Franklin County to tailor, but even best practices that we've now been able to garner with our stakeholders, such as the Jail Population Review Committee, and doing a benchmark on how this is done in jurisdictions across the country and bringing it here to support the analysis of our jail, making sure that we are not intentionally incarcerating people who should not be incarcerated, that we are not intentionally putting people in a position to lose housing, to lose benefits, to lose resources, simply because we look at them based on the paper that's in front of us and not the human being that they are. We've learned how to better focus on humanizing those challenging environments for residents that are there. And so the Core Justice Network looks at all of those things from a community-based perspective, but also, again, getting very deep into the weeds of our justice system and how we set out to change the narrative and how we change the disparities as it relates to that. As it relates to the Jail Population Review Committee, we have been in consistent meetings with our system partners. I want to thank specifically our prosecutor's office for really, quarterbacking with us and really providing support around the things that sometimes hang us up, such as information sharing or, who's going to get access to what. We refuse to be, boxed in or boxed out of what we know is going to be critical to ensuring that our jail populations don't become overcrowded, but they only represent those individuals who pose a safety concern to the community or themselves, and no more and no less. And so we're really excited of our time with the Core Justice Network. This will continue into 2024. They do a lot of our peer, it's really a site review where we're able to go to other counties and again, explore best practices that we can then come back, review, implement, and deploy.
Can you talk about the staffing for Tap In and for the population review committee? It will be essential to have dedicated staffing. And when Melissa gave her overview for the staffing for 2024 and the new FTEs, I didn't hear, or maybe one of the FTEs or two of them will be dedicated to Tap in jail population review committee. But if you could just give me some more information about that, because that's critical.
Yes, ma'am. So we have outlined in our budget, particularly for our grant program, which is Targeted Community Alternatives to Prison. So this particular grant program, we are looking to use to support a project manager who is solely dedicated to the Population Review Committee. This team is made up of our municipal court, common pleas court, of course, our city attorney's office, our prosecutor's office, public defenders. We have, those who sit on our criminal justice planning board is pretty much all represented in this particular effort to ensure that we're considering all phases of the justice process. We have judicial representation to make sure that we're making these decisions of who is sitting in our jails intentionally and collectively. So that position that we are looking to add in will be specifically dedicated to ensuring that that implementation happens and that it continues and that it then becomes sustainable for future iterations. And so with that, I'm hoping that as we move into 2024 and you talk about the Tap-In Center as well, when we talk about staffing, we know all the work that HHS is doing to be phenomenal around creating this community-based approach, right, for our residents. But again, we are operating soon to be 3 co-located sites in this community. We have Safer Station, we have the Rapid Resource Center 1 and 2. Soon we will have our One Door. Then we are now going to have the Tap-In Center. We are going to need to expand the support of staffing from an outreach, reentry, peer support aspect to ensure that our residents are being able to be met with that warm handoff and with that intentionality as we move through the phases of each one of these initiatives.
Thank you, Director Pride. DCA Bivens, your hands up.
Commissioner, I'm sorry, Director Pride, could you really quick, what is the percentage of your agency's increase post 2020? The size of your agency and the amount of work? Is it 20% increase, 40% increase, 60% increase?
So going back to what we presented prior to, what we're looking at as that increase as far as, and I'm sorry, I'm gonna go back to my budget slide so I don't misrepresent. If we're looking at kind of where we sat from a staffing perspective, we're looking at in 2020, again, in actually county employed staff, we had 10. We are now projecting in 2024 to have just shy of 39 that are actually Franklin County employees. And then we, of course, have our contractors then who make up the remaining portion of our employment, which is 22 projected into 2024. In 2020, we were sitting at 12.
So based on your budget currently right now, and you talked about just previously the increase with the Rapid Resource Centers, One Door, all of those things, how many more staff are you projecting futuristically that you will need to support the overall goal and objectives of justice policy and program?
Right now, I'm projecting, and I'm sorry, I forgot to mention the youth of incarcerated parents, as we hope to tie that in as well. I'm projecting at least over the next, year to 2 to 3 years, at least additional 15 to 20 FTEs that we can fuse into all of these pockets, right, to carry out the work that can be sustained.
And that's on par with the growth of the county, correct? Because you can project how many people as the population increase. And then my last question would be to you and Melissa. How are you all thinking about the One Door, right? And the One Door concept and model. Thank you for lifting that up, because I wanted to ask you particularly, and Melissa, how are you aligning with your other sister agencies, the contracts to support your jail population or those residents that are interfacing with your agency? Are you all having, integrated conversations regarding supporting your residents through the contracts?
Yes, and so as it relates to a lot of the initiatives that we're doing, as I mentioned, Job and Family Services has been amazing in their extension of support from the Family Stabilization Unit. We are thankful to the Franklin County Office on Aging for looking at their FTEs and adding a position to support the grandparental caregivers who we know are left behind to raise children whose parents have been incarcerated. And so what we're hoping to do is continue to build and look at place-based solutions based on what we have, right, within our HHS ecosystem that can be leveraged, and then making sure that makes sense and that we're bridging that gap before we then would go forward to ask for additional FTEs to support the areas where that additional, those additional personnel would be necessary.
Do we have any additional questions at Office of Justice Policy and Programs? If none, we will move on. Thank you for providing the thorough presentation today.
Thank you.
Our next agency will be the Office on Aging. However, we will need a couple minutes to get everything set up. So thank you for your patience and we will begin shortly.